Welcome to the Mental Wealth Podcast. My name is Adil Batik, and today we're going to be talking about finding purpose in life. I know it's a big topic. Let's dive right into it. With that said, do you ever feel lost in life, like you're, a piece of wood just drifting over the ocean? Let me tell you, it's not a good feeling. With that said, today I'm going to be talking about how to find purpose in life, and I'm going to be dividing this podcast into three main chunks in chapters, and that's going to be clarity, daily action, and then the big picture. So, starting with clarity, let's dive right into it. So, what do you want? What do you want when you say purpose? Because this is important. Sometimes you might not know what you want, but you do know what you don't want, which is just feeling bad about yourself. So, it's helpful sometimes, even if we don't know what we really want and we don't know how specific we want to get, it's helpful to know what we don't want. Maybe we don't want to be unhealthy or to feel bad or whatever it may be. Get clear on, let's just say, what you don't want for now. And then there is a quote, I forget who it is by, and it says basically, what stands in the way becomes the way. So if you feel like you didn't have maybe many financial opportunities in life and then you really struggled with that, you can be like, hey, okay, I struggled a lot with that, but I could transform that into something that could be my purpose. I could help other people triumph over that same obstacle that I had. So what stands in the way becomes in the way, and ironically the thing that you really struggled with becomes your strong suit and becomes your purpose and something that gives you a lot of meaning. So this is honestly a really positive thing if you think about it. So what doesn't kill you make you stronger, as cliche as it sounds, but it's very true. So what stands in the way becomes the way. It's also worth mentioning that a lot of people, when they think about purpose or a life goal, they think about all these materialistic things, money, cars, women, and these things are great in their own sense, but is that really what you want? A helpful tip I think about is, okay, if I were to have those things and I can imagine myself having those things right now, will I be satisfied? Will I be happy? Will I be at peace? Will this be a worthwhile thing to go for, to spend my whole life trying to get? Is it worth it? It's helpful to imagine yourself reaching that goal and asking yourself, is this really what I wanted? And if not, then maybe you should find another goal. So it is helpful to imagine that and use your visualization techniques. And then let's talk about actions for a little bit, because yes, we want our actions to follow our values. With that said, if we don't know what our values are, it's really hard to align them because we don't know what we're aligning. So our values are important, and getting clarity on those values are even more important, because this is our compass. This is our moral compass that guides us. This is our North Star that tells us, hey, we should go this way and leave the other way. So defining what values are important for you. For example, for me, important values are, let's just say, for example, courage. This is really important for me personally. Discipline, that's also very important. Strength, health, peace. These things are, it sounds cliche, but it's very, very true. It's foundational to who I am, and I believe that you should find the things and the pillars that make your life full of meaning, make your life full of purpose and joy, and go after them. So once you find these pillars, once you find these North Stars, you can start moving. But if you don't, that's why we start with clarity first. Get clear on what you want and then go after it. With that said, finding clarity is the first step, and you want to find the overlap, the place where you are good at something and then you are also passionate about it. And this way you could possibly get paid for it and do something that you love. So this is great. Now, keep in mind that you don't necessarily need to get paid to do something to be passionate about it or for it to be your purpose. Maybe you're passionate about something that does not pay any money, or people are not interested in paying you money. Does that mean that you shouldn't go for it? Absolutely not. It is important to go for those things, and if you get paid for it, this is great. If you don't, you should still go for it. And sometimes I would think that going for something with the money in mind actually ruins it. Sometimes money just ruins the whole picture. So maybe you don't really need to get paid for it to be your life's purpose. And then I want to touch on an important theme that I found, and I still find to this day. And the first time I heard about this idea, it was by Tony Robbins, but I'm not sure who came up with it originally. Either way, I try to give credit where credit is due. So with that said, the idea of growing and giving, what does that mean? It means that our life is much more purposeful, much more joyous, much more meaningful if we are growing and we see ourselves progressing to a better place. And while we're doing that, we're serving other people, growing and giving. So giving to the others. This is important because I feel like the relationship between growth and between giving back to others is integral. Because as we said, we don't want to go just for egotistical types of goals. We want to go for goals that are genuinely meaningful. This ties into the idea of others because I feel like as humans, connection and service are just wired in our brains and are very meaningful acts and meaningful activities in that sense. So it is important to find a place where you could be good at and we could grow and you could keep learning as well as serving others and making the world a better place. So lastly, in the last idea of clarity, I want to touch on the idea of this concept called hell yeah or no. Now, what does that mean? It means that does this excite you to the point where you're like, hell yeah? If not, then no, because this purpose needs to excite you. It needs to move you in the morning and it needs to just put that fire in you. And if you don't feel very passionate about it, then so be it. It's okay. It happens. With that said, let's move on to the next section. Now let's talk daily action. Daily action. So this is important. We got clear on what we really wanted. Now let's talk about the daily habits, the daily rituals that will get us to what we want. So we start with an overarching goal. Maybe you want to build a $1 million business. Maybe you want to create an organization where it helps children who don't have appropriate education. Whatever it may be, break that goal into small, manageable chunks that could be done every day. This is important because a huge goal can be overwhelming and can stress you out at times. But if you create just a manageable action that you can do every day, you can be like, okay, I can handle this. I can do this for 1 day, and I can do it for 2 days, and 3 days, and so on. So it's important to break them down. That way they're not so daunting. And that way you could just move on and inch your way closer every day to your desired goal. Now, we talked about the daily habits that are going to get you there. They're the daily actions that are going to get you there. However, you also want to recalibrate as you are going towards your goal, because sometimes we steer off the goal and we want to redirect ourselves and get back on track. So it is important to recalibrate. It's important to assess our progress on, let's say, daily basis, weekly basis, monthly or yearly. The more consistent, I would say weekly and monthly are the best increments in my opinion, depending on the tasks that you're performing, because you don't want to keep doing the wrong thing and then find out a year later. If you're calibrating every week or every day, you realize, okay, I'm not doing this appropriately. Let's get back on track. So this is important. And then we got continuous learning. Continuous learning, I find it to be very fulfilling. I don't know about you guys, but I'm a huge nerd. And when it comes to learning, I feel like it's very satisfying because we are just almost leveling up every day that we're learning something new. So this goes back to the idea of growing and giving, the growing part. You want to keep learning, keep building new skills, keep meeting new people, and learning lessons is not necessarily like going to school or taking courses, even though that is very helpful, and reading is a huge part of growing as a person, but also living in life in a more conscious way and realizing that, hey, life is a huge teacher and it could teach us many things that cannot be taught in school. So it's important to reflect on our days and journal and see what went well and what didn't. And that way we could learn and grow continuously. And then the final part of the daily action is to stop waiting and start living. It is important because, yes, as you're waiting for that goal to happen and to fulfill and to come to fruition, it's important to just enjoy the moment and enjoy the process and enjoy the daily actions that will get you to that goal, because you are on the right trajectory. So are you really going to limit your happiness to a single moment? Not necessarily, and I don't think that's a healthy approach, to be honest. I don't think it's a sane approach to life. Instead, we could focus on the moment, do the right things, and next thing you know, we reach that goal. But we don't restrict our happiness to a single achievement. We can be happy and fulfilled and present in every moment. And this is what's important at the end of the day. I really think that. Moving on to the last chapter or last section of this episode, which is the big picture. So why are we talking about this? There are many important factors in the importance of goals. Why are goals so important to us? For many reasons. They give us a sense of purpose, a sense of motivation that will get us out of bed and put excitement in our life. It also gives us a sense of direction, as we talked about. It's that North Star, because sometimes life can feel meaningless at times. And it's important to realize that, hey, even though things are tough right now, it's okay. I can get through it and I can progress towards my goals. And it will also help us have a better self-esteem, better self-confidence, because we know that we could tackle and do difficult things. Even though they're so difficult, we do them anyways, and we keep going, we persist until we reach that goal, while keeping in mind that enjoying the process and enjoying the daily discipline is also very important. So it's a balance between being future oriented while also enjoying the present and honoring it. With that said, I already talked about enjoying the now and stopping the waiting part. Like, don't just wait to be on vacation, or don't just wait until you graduate, or don't just wait until you reach that promotion. Just live here and live now. And I do give credit when credit is due to the book. What is it called? It's The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle. It's a great book, highly recommend it, and you guys gotta check it out. It sounds repetitive and simple, but at the same time, once you really grasp what he's trying to talk about, it hits you like a truck. So go check it out. Moving on to another important part of the big picture, it is gratitude. And you might think, well, how is that going to help me reach my goals or find purpose? Well, that's the point. If you don't learn to be grateful for what you have, it's really hard to be satisfied for when you reach that goal, because that goal is just another milestone, and you'll realize after that little piece of happiness or that feeling of happiness, when you reached it, you're going to move on to another goal and another goal. It's unending. With that said, you get to learn how to be content and grateful and fulfilled in the here and now while moving to a better place. But it is important to just be grateful and honor and respect and be happy for the present moment. Again, this sounds very philosophical, but at the same time, this is practical philosophy. This is the way to live a happier life, a peaceful life. So even though it may sound philosophical, I do think it's very valid. Another thing that I really wanted to talk about is adjusting expectations. Now, I'm not trying to tell you to dream small or like lower your expectations, but I am trying to tell you that we live in a world today where it's just governed by social media, and like people are just learning and getting these expectations that they didn't even want, and getting these goals and aspirations that they didn't realize they had before, all because they saw someone else doing it. This is important to mention because maybe this is not what you really care about. Make sure that this goal that you're chasing, this goal and this purpose that you're following is something that you really wanted. And again, we touched on visualization in that sense. And we said, hey, visualize it and see yourself achieving that goal and having it. Are you happy at that moment? If not, then maybe you should look for something else. So adjust your expectations to something that you really want. Adjust your goals and aspirations to something that you truly care about and fulfills you, not just what makes you look good. And then finally, we talked about the trajectory. And I want to touch back on that because the trajectory sometimes is more important than the destination. Now, what do I mean by that? It means that if we're on the right track and if we're doing the right things day in and day out, sooner or later, we will reach the destination. And this is important because we don't want to just focus on arriving. We want to focus on the process because the process is actually 90% of it. So yes, goals are important because they set an expectation and a place to go, but the trajectory is also important. I would argue even more important sometimes because this is how we get to that place. So for example, instead of being like, I want to lose 10 pounds, you could be like, I am a healthy person. I'm a person that eats well and exercises daily and things of that nature, takes care of their health. This is much more important. Identities and systems and habits are much more important than a mere goal because you could gain that goal and you could realize it, you could get to it, losing that 10 pounds. But what happens after? If you're just focused on that one goal, you might slide back to old patterns. So it's important to build identities of, let's say I'm a healthy person, instead of just focusing on an achievement or a metric. With that said, what do you guys think about this video? What do you guys think about this podcast? What should I include? What topics should I talk about next? Let me know in the comments below. And again, thank you so much for watching. It is much appreciated, and it has been shown that generosity is one of the things that could give people purpose and give people a sense of well-being. So with that said, click that like button, subscribe, and share it with your friends. Thank you so much for watching, guys. Like, share, and subscribe, and stay grounded. Have a good one.